That's right. Okay, so Comedy on State. You have to choke up on the mic a little bit.
Right on.
We do you okay? Before I even get this started, do you know I have a head injury? Where I have a memory issue?
No, I
Okay.
didn't know that.
Yeah. So I have a terrible memory. So if I
So I
ask,
can make up whatever about.
honestly, just have you seen Memento?
Yeah,
It's not that bad, but
Right.
it's not a fun experience. So like,
Right.
I'll have to have people jog my memory and shit. So if I remember correctly, you work at Comedy on State, or I know you perform a lot there.
Yeah, well, I came up at that club, and then after running the festival for a few years, they acquired me as the marketing director.
Okay.
So I work there now, yeah.
So do you still live out there? I can't remember.
Nope, I live in Chicago.
You live in Chicago, so you just drive out there for stuff.
Every once in a while.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So you lived next to Comedy on State, and your friends were like, just try the comedy thing?
Yeah, the first time I tried it, it was we'd go to the Wednesday show every once in a while, and some of my friends, I was always sending them like stand-up clips and specials and like all the Comedy Central half hours, and some of my buddies were just like, yo, you should try this, because there's clearly people who are like just kind of toying around with it, and they're still getting support from the audience. Like if it doesn't go that well, you're not going to feel that bad at that club on the Wednesday show. So I tried it, and it went well enough for me to continue, and then I just did a few mics, and then I got to open up a show at the Orpheum to a sold-out theater, and I was like, that really gave me the bug.
Yeah.
Because it was just my buddies, too. It was like an a cappella group when I was
Yeah.
in college, and they would sell at the Orpheum, so they let me host their show.
How big is the Orpheum? How much are we talking?
It's like a 2,000-seater.
God damn.
So it was cool. Yeah.
So okay, so basically you enjoy comedy. You're like a fan of comedy.
Right.
You're bothering your friends. Your friends are like, just go fucking do it.
Yeah.
and,
yeah.
And it started off well enough. And then how soon until the Orpheum?
That was the same year, but I had probably performed like 3 times before doing that. But the cool thing is that I didn't have to do stand-up material stand-up. It was more like I wrote jokes about all the people on that show. So all the people in that group were like some of my college buddies. So I kind of did like a joke about all of them, because that's what the crowd was there to see too, and I was just kind of the warm-up act. But I had to write, I did 10 minutes just based on the guys in the group. So it was kind of nice, because it was like that's the subject matter they wanted to talk about too.
Right.
It wasn't like I had to just have 10 minutes and just go try my best.
Yeah, you definitely worked with what the audience wanted.
Yeah.
I can only I've never bombed in that type of situation. I can't imagine it.
Yeah, it was. I mean, like, once the first little joke gets a laugh and it's like barely a joke, you're like, all right, cool. Let's just strap in. They're gonna be down for the ride. And
I get you.
Yeah.
So growing up, you are from Wisconsin?
I grew up in Kenosha.
Okay.
So just the first little it's like right in the middle of Milwaukee and Chicago is Kenosha on Lake Michigan. It's the first little city you hit when you go straight north out of Chicago.
Okay.
In Wisconsin, of course.
And what, like, I mean, it sounds like you were a comedy nerd before you did stand up. What got you into stand? Like, why did you get so obsessed with it?
Well, I would do some like theater stuff here and there, but I don't know. I always just liked comedy. My dad was a big comedy fan, and just growing up, it was one of the cooler forms of entertainment that you could just, I don't know, it felt very accessible. It felt like it was just like, oh, it's just a guy up there talking, and like they got to sink or swim on their own. Like, and I'm a musician as well, so I played in groups and all that stuff, and that's a lot harder to organize, because you got to go off like 5 different people's schedules and preferences, and like everyone has creative input, and if something sucks, then it could be anyone's fault. One part could suck or whatever. But in stand-up, it's like it's all on your back. You're just up there alone. So that was kind of nice too, because it was a break from working with musicians as well, and like catering to a lot of egos and opinions and all that stuff. It's like I can just do what I want in stand-up, so it's kind of nice.
I get you. Yeah, the barrier to entry with stand-up is so goddamn low.
Yeah.
And I think it's like a double-edged sword. Like on one end, anybody can do it, and on the other hand, it's like, anybody? can do it. Like
Right.
anybody can just sign on this list. And
and you see the ramifications of that constantly play out.
Did
in
you
real
have
time.
crazies in Wisconsin? Like I'm from Riverside, California, and we would have this guy. Oh fuck, he would put on a Wolfman outfit. And he would get on stage and he would howl into the mic and he would just run around and scream. It was wild. So did you guys have crazy people or were you?
We had crazies. I mean, it's one of those things like you can literally do anything. So people would do literally anything.
Right.
I mean, I've seen some crazy stuff over the years for sure.
Man. There's some people with a complete lack of self-awareness that go on stage.
Yeah.
I'm almost envious of the confidence. Like you.
Oh my God. I wish I had it. I doubt everything that I do, even after
Yeah.
I've seen it work a number of times. I'm still sitting there going, is it good enough? Are they laughing because of this? Do they get it? And it's like,
Those people have no fear. They just fucking do it.
yeah.
And as far as music goes, that's dope. I play bass.
Nice. I do too.
Oh, hey, fellow
Nice.
bass player. Yeah, we're very underappreciated until we're gone.
Yeah.
When it comes to music, I get you. I was in a band once, and it was exhausting because like everyone had different perspectives and views on things.
Right.
Schedule thing, the money, like and the time to move shit.
Yeah. It's a little bit harder to arrange the logistics, especially in like a startup kind of indie band sort of situation, like, you know, getting adequate pay for 5+ people, depending on how big the band is and stuff, and getting gigs and marketing and all that stuff is like, it's fine if you have the right dynamic, but it's tougher. And I find myself like, I fit into a lot of musical context rather seamlessly. Like I do some independent stuff, but it's mostly goofy and it's all live. Like I don't put anything out. I do stuff live. And that's been kind of cool too. Like the first music and comedy hybrid thing that I did was Toller Wolf used to do a show. He was I don't know if he's doing stand-up anymore. I think he still dips his toe in every once in a while, but he's hilarious. He had a show in Madison before he moved to Chicago, and we had our band would play people on and off the stage, and we just kind of had this like cool little thing going on. And then I started a show doing the same thing, and then my band members moved after college, and then I started doing a thing where I would make up a song with the crowd before a show would start, and then the host would come up, but like the crowd just it's a nice warm-up act because like it doesn't have to be good, it just has to be silly, and if it is good, then everyone's like, holy shit, look at that. But if it's just fun and gathers and corrals the room, then the purpose is served, you know.
You seems like you have a lot of good performing instincts. Like you understand what the crowd needs and why, and you adjust to that really well. Where'd you learn that from?
I think just doing it also, and standing in awkward silence enough times. And I think also just the producing aspect of it, like when you have to cater to everyone's needs, where like, okay, what do people like, what is the experience of like walking in, getting a drink, seating, like how do I go to the bathroom, do I order a drink here, do I go up to the bar, like thinking of all those logistics in your head. You just have this like I guess empathy, for lack of a better term, about what people are experiencing when they're there. But when it comes to like on stage, honestly, you learn that from just watching people who are captivating. Like there's some people that like are doing it to make sure it's fun for everyone that's there, and you can tell the difference between someone who's doing it for themselves and then someone who's doing it like for the room, like for the experience. And so leaning toward that direction for me has been a more interesting thing, because that's also how you learn to adapt to different contexts too. Like you don't have to be an act that just plays in clubs or just does indie rooms or just does this one kind of thing if you can develop that skill of like giving people what they're actually looking for.
It's funny because I agree with you, and I've met a lot of comics that have a differing view.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've talked to a lot of guys who kind of view the opposite. Like, this is me. It's all about me. Fuck the audience. They're going to follow what I say. I dictate the energy. And I'm sure for some people that works.
Yeah.
But on some level, I'm like, yeah, but they're paying to see you.
Yeah, and there's a trade-off. I mean, those people aren't like wrong
Right.
100%. It's just there's a balance you have to strike between, doing like getting what you want to get out there, and like making sure it's fun
Yeah.
for people too. And I mean, ideally, you're just writing stuff that does land with a mass, quantity of people to where you don't have to like cater each individual set to the situation that you're in. But that doesn't always happen too. That's not like a reality. I mean, when you're doing comedy, you're doing all different kinds of rooms.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's a bit naive to just be like, I just got this one speed and I'm just going to go for it every single time.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like sometimes you're going uphill, you need to change gears. Sometimes you're going downhill, you could just coast. It's like it's a multi-terrain environment doing comedy. So,
is your family in like business or something? You seem very business.
No, my family's like extremely working class. I mean, we grew up very, I don't want to say poor because I don't like the word poor, and it ingrains like a poverty mindset into you. But we didn't have nothing growing up. You know, we were just doing our best. Like when I started doing comedy, my family was like, I mean, all right, you any good? And then when certain cool things started to happen, my family was just like, hell yeah, do it. Like, even though I was like the first generation college student, moved away for college, and like they were all proud of that route that I was going. And then in my 5th year of college, I was like, so comedy, music, like freelance, indie, be broke till I'm not, kind of thing. And they were like, fine. And then they're like, as long as you can show the receipts, though, like be able to prove it,
That's not bad at all. I've talked to a fair amount of comics doing this at this point, and I've heard everything from furious and don't even know I'm still doing it. Yeah. And they're gonna like hide this podcast from their family, all the way to incredible. It's like surprisingly supportive. Yeah. I've met comics who were like, yeah, my family basically told me to do stand up, and I thought that was crazy. Yeah. Your family seems right in that middle area of like, do what you.
Yeah, I mean, they were excited about it. I think to them it's cool to watch me try something that's hard to pull off. And my dad was a huge comedy fan, so he really likes that I do stand up now. And like, yeah, slowly but surely my entire family's on board. That's awesome, with what I'm doing, especially once you start kind of doing cool shit, and they're like, all right, damn, that's kind of dope.
Are they gonna watch this?
Probably. I don't know. Well, I mean, awesome. It is funny sometimes when anything comes out of me, I'll get random texts from like my great aunt or something, and she'll be like, I love the interview, or like I don't know who watches stuff when I put it out, but I do know they do tune in surprisingly faithfully.
Well, that's pretty awesome, man. Good for you. And so you went to college, and you were a super senior when you were like, whew. So when you went into college, what were you majoring? Like, what was your headspace at?
I was biology, kinesiology, global health. So I was looking to do a doctorate in physical therapy after my 5th year. And it was kind of it was cool. That's what I wanted to do. I maybe even put other aspirations I had on the back burner in order to do that. And then once I started doing this, I just found more alignment with like, the type of life I wanted to have day to day. Just like I wanted to be creative. I wanted to be part of a community. I wanted to help build something better than or bigger than myself. And the opportunity to do that isn't as great. I mean, you can do that in any context, I think, but I was going through physical therapy for my knee when I was in school, and the guy that did my physical therapy was number 1 in his class at the school I was going to go to, and he was working in no shade or anything, but like he was working in this like random depressing clinic, and like he was the top of his class at a good PT school. And so I was like, damn, like that's the pinnacle of success in the route that I'm taking. And it just, I don't know, it didn't sit well with me. I didn't get too excited about it. You know, even like his peers and all that stuff. Like, and they're all successful, and I'm sure they have great lives and great stable incomes and all that good shit. But I just I felt like I had done my 5-year sentence of like doing what everyone in my family was like proud to brag to each other about, you know, like my son's at UW-Madison and all that shit. So I just decided to do something for myself, and that was kind of the where I landed, you know.
I think that's very. It's a big compliment. Very brave of you, because that's. I mean, I don't know the details of your family dynamic, but that's like hard. It's hard to do something for yourself when the people around you are kind of pushing you towards a direction.
Yeah. Well, and also like there was this kind of like the pressure wasn't like insane because I think my family genuinely does just want me to be happy. But when you're flirting with like a medical career or like an artist career, like, and I just put in all that work to do this one thing, it is, I mean, it's challenging, but I think ultimately the pressure was more like sort of their ego a little bit of like, oh, like I wanted you to be our like ticket out. And it's like, maybe I could still be, I don't know, but I'm going to do it in a fun way, like in a way that's fulfilling to my life.
That makes you happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they've never really been, I think they trust me to just pull it off. Yeah. Like whatever I choose to do.
I mean, you seem reasonable, and which is hard to find in comedy. To find a comedian that is reasonable is difficult. And I mean, it seems like you're doing well from what I've seen. So I'm
happy with it.
Yeah,
you know.
Good. You was two things. First off, what did you need physical therapy for?
Oh, I tore my MCL and medial meniscus. So I had a patellar subluxation as well.
That sounds crazy.
Patellar subluxation is just when your kneecap doesn't fit exactly into the little groove that's carved out for it, so it tracks. Mine tracked laterally.
Okay.
And that's because I tore my MCL and medial meniscus. So the things that would pull it back to center weren't really there to pull it back to center. So I had to strengthen the inside and back of my knee in order to retract my kneecap over my knee.
That sounds awful.
It wasn't great.
Yeah.
I was a football player that I was going to play in college and all that stuff, and then I was studying PT, and all my professors scared me. They were like, "You're going to hurt yourself, and you're not going to have a career in physical therapy." And I was like, "Well, damn, all right."
Yeah.
And then school was a lot too. I was a first generation student, just trying to like work and go to school full time and adjust to like a crazy different social atmosphere, and I just kind of like, I don't know, I had too much. I bit off way more than I could chew, and then was just like, maybe that's also what made me want to change routes a little bit. Was just like I did it in a way that was like rigorous for no reason. Like I could have taken a more chill path, a lighter credit load, and still been a full-time student on the same path with the same end line, but I took classes that were harder so that it would like look better, and like I did all this unnecessary challenging shit, and it became too much.
Right.
So
okay, then it became too much. It's okay. You're making sense to me now.
Yeah.
Because we've never sat down like talked, have we?
No, not really. I mean, we've talked when we first met. It was in the green room at Laugh Factory.
Yeah.
I was just doing like the 7 and 9 or something like that, and I think you were there just drawing.
Yeah.
Hanging out with comics.
Yeah, man. I'm real introverted. And it's actually difficult for me to be around a bunch of comics. It's too much energy. It's overwhelming for me. And
but having something to regulate like that, just chilling in the green room drawing, and like, I don't know, that was also like when you talk to comics, and like, especially when you're like at a show, like I talk to comics for like a minute at a time, and then I'm like bopping around doing something else, and I'll talk for like a minute, and then I'm like, oh shit, okay, I gotta get ready, gotta think, gotta gonna go up. And then come back, it's like 1 minute conversations all around, and you have like 30 of them, and it is overwhelming.
Yeah, especially for my personality.
Yeah.
Where this, for me personally, it's easier.
Right.
I can lock into your vibe and just kind of get to know you.
Right.
And the memory thing is really frustrating because like if you jog my memory, I'll remember like little moments and stuff, but I don't remember in detail all of our interactions, and it is what it is.
So when did that happen in your life?
I think my memory's always been fucked up because of traumatic childhood. A lot of gaslighting from people around me, telling me that like things are happening that aren't really happening, and I'm being crazy. And at a certain point, after so many years, that locks into your brain, and you start to question everything that you're doing. And so I think part of it was that. I'm sure weed doesn't help.
Right.
And it does not help. And then I got sucker punched in 2020, I think it was.
Damn.
I was where I grew up. I was doing street stand up because things were closed down and it was like a place I could perform. And I had finished everything, and I was talking with my friend, and then some guy snuck up behind me and he hit me in the back of the head. And
damn.
Yeah. To this day, I don't know what he looks like because he snuck. I don't.
Right.
Yeah. And apparently he was mad. He was offended by something, but I don't know what. From what I was told, he was yelling because I was unconscious. He was yelling, "You don't mess with mothers and babies," and then he ran off. So, and then I was left with a very expensive hospital bill.
Damn.
Yeah. So my memory is dog shit, and like meeting comics or meeting people can get difficult because you meet somebody for like 5 minutes, and then you see him again maybe a few months later, and you ever have that where
it's already challenging?
Yeah.
It's already challenging. I literally like last night was on a show with somebody who I've met like 6 times, but never really in a meaningful way. Just like, oh, you're that person that I've heard or seen their name, or like we're on the show or whatever. And literally just last night we were on a show together for the first time, and we like re-met, and we're like, no idea what those other 5 times looked like. Like that's already it's already a thing for most people.
It's a blur, and mine is it's like a blurrier blur, and I've know very confidently I've offended people where I will say, and I need to stop doing this. I'll say nice to meet you, and for a person I've seen way too many times to be saying that.
Yeah.
And then it's not like this where I can be like, so traumatic childhood, head injury, and I don't have the time to explain all of that.
Right.
So I just come off like an aloof asshole to people.
I had one experience with a guy where I reminded him that we had met like 4 times, and I felt like an asshole.
Really?
Because he was like, yeah, and it's also like not the thing to do socially to be like, oh, we've met before.
Yeah.
It's also kind of weird. It's just like,
just let it be.
Just let it breathe. It's fine, and it wasn't a big deal, and I was just trying to be funny about it.
Yeah.
And I think literally to this day he's like, every time he sees me. Because it was like a bummer of a thing to do. Yeah.
It was like, you now.
Yeah, he remembers me now as the guy who's like, oh, we've met.
Yeah. But I wanted to dig into something with you in getting to know you a little bit. I had a comic, Dave Bradley.
Okay. I don't think I'm familiar.
Black dude from the South Side. He has a show in the Red Room.
Okay.
He actually just did the podcast a few days ago, and you guys are you reminded me of each other a little bit.
Really?
A little bit. And this might be why. So you said you did football. You play football?
Yeah.
How long were you doing that?
My whole life.
Okay.
Until college.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. When I think this is making sense. I'll explain everything I'm saying and stop rambling. You said like you don't like to describe your family as poor because you don't want that mentality.
Right.
Dave Bradley also kind of had a similar mindset, very like almost anti-self-deprecating, anti-putting yourself down, speak highly of yourself, push forward.
Right.
He came from a sports background, still does sports. whereas I come from, I mean, I did sports like basketball and shit as a kid, but like whatever.
Right.
Like I come from a theater.
The
background.
obligatory amount of sports.
The regular amount, like
Yeah.
you know, you play t-ball because you're supposed
Standard
to play
issue childhood sports career.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I was in theater, and that's a very different mindset and energy and way of thinking of things, and I kind of I like your mentality of things. I like people with sports mentality because it's a different gear that you switch into.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm getting
Yeah.
at? Yeah.
Oh, I think about it because I was a quarterback, so that was like a kind of leader of the pack situation, you know. And I mean, through that you do learn tangible like leadership qualities that you can apply if you're paying attention and learning the right lessons from it, you know. And just like training hard at something can make you at ease with discomfort, and you need that to kind of pursue a career like this. You have to be comfortable with like things not going your way and like resilient in a way, and then also like everything's on your shoulders, the success or the failure of it. Like classic QB thing is like, you know, if the team wins, it's like, and we were led by quarterback, you know, and then if the team loses, it's like, oh, are they a scrub?
Yeah.
Is this guy just not holding it together? And so that in stand-up is a big thing too. But like going back to like the kind of poverty mindset thing, that's been like a block for me because for the longest time I just expected to continue to like be barely getting by, like paycheck to paycheck, scraping, no paycheck, still got to scrap and make it happen. And I've been in that situation a lot in my adult life, just because of like, you know, what I'm pursuing and what I'm trying to build and grow into, and not always having something reliable, and like, you know, the pandemic and like just weird stuff that happens. But the one thing I've been trying to do is get that like poverty mindset out of my brain, because if you embody that for a long time, then you like kind of speak truth to it, and you kind of, that's what you're like not to get too like, you know, woo manifest and attract and all this, but I mean, you're doing that. Like if you're accepting that and living in it and living in that like frequency, then that's you get more of the frequency that you occupy, you know. And that's, I think you don't even have to be into some hippy dippy shit for that to be obvious to a lot of people, you know. And
I'm also in hippy dippy shit, so
totally,
you know, I get it.
Yeah, and I try to talk about that as just like a reality without, you know, turning people off who are like, oh, what are you gonna tell me next? What's your rising sun? Like,
no, I get you. I you know, it's been interesting. So I used to break comedians into two camps, and I think you and Dave have added a third. Which is the sports camp.
Sports camp. Hey, let's go to sports camp.
Bro, what do you guys, keg stand? Is that a thing? No, because you're like working out, drinking Gatorade and shit?
I don't know.
All right, I'm not a sports guy. Well, actually, I've started doing jiu-jitsu recently.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. I'll talk about that later, because it's connected me to guys like you and Dave in a way that I didn't have before.
Oh, okay.
But the camps I used to have were comedians come from theater or bars or prison.
Yeah.
And there is this, I come to realize through the podcast and meeting guys like you, there's a third camp, which is kind of a sports mentality, and that's a different approach. Like the people that come from the theater performance camp have a theater performance vibe that's usually very emotional. It's technique structure. Then you got your I'll use do you know Mike Robinson?
Mm-hmm.
You know, so Mike comes from the bars. Mike comes from this raw, unfiltered, naturally himself place. And then guys like you have this drive, this mindset that is very different from both.
Yeah, I would say that. I mean, caveats of being like, I don't know. I know like some people are like, you know, rise and grind, always hustle, always like.
Yeah.
And I think that gets to a really transactional place, and I don't approach comedy from a very transactional place. Like I've done a lot of like producing and putting out. Like when I started in Madison, we didn't really have a scene. Like there wasn't. I mean, there was the mic, maybe a couple other mics, but there was no like curation of like shows and booked paid lineups at like nice places with high production value. And I kind of tried to bring that, and then a lot of other people started to bring that too, and then that kind of like culminated, just happened naturally to where we could like throw a blanket around the whole thing and make a festival and involve the club and involve local businesses and involve, you know, comedians from out of town, and just kind of put together this big beautiful thing. And I think some people see me doing stuff like that and they think that I'm doing it for like a power thing, or like a just like a power grab, you know, like I'm trying to like put a stake up. And it's like, I don't know how to explain to those people that it's like the exact opposite. Like we just used to not have anything, and if we didn't all band together to do it, there wouldn't be something, you know.
Yeah, to put it in my own words, you needed a community.
We needed to build, like we needed to put. You can't like withdraw from something if you don't make deposits. Like
Yeah,
we had to like put in deposits to have the bank to withdraw from. Like
I get you. Back in Riverside, that's what we did. We made this thing called the Buddy System, and we built our own little comedy scene.
Nice.
Well, thank you. When people think of California, people thinking L.A., San Diego, San Francisco.
Right.
But have you been to California?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you know it's fucking huge. It's like big.
Yeah.
And so our little tiny slice of it, we had to build from the ground up. And yeah, building that community is important. And as solo as comedy is, you know, if like every open mic there was no comedians but you, it would suck.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want to have a space that encourages people to show up, perform, take creative risks, you know, grow, have a community to bounce ideas off of. Like one of the most important things was like watching what other people are doing, but watching what other people aren't doing. And then being like, okay, so that's an area that's untapped that I'm not seeing people do. So that, like, if that resonates with you and that fits into your kind of Venn diagram of alignment and you feel good, you know, trying something like that, then that becomes a thing that, you know, can be part of your voice, you know.
I appreciate that you use the buzzword alignment for me, you know. The yin yang, man, it's alignment.
That is everything, though.
Yeah.
That is everything. Yeah. Like, as much as people are like, okay, there's this like path that comics take, and like, you have to do these things and these things and these things and these things. It's like you don't have to. You have to do the parts of it that are aligned with how, like, what you are feeling and all of that, but also like what your goals are and, you know, what you feel comfortable involving yourself with. Like, I can't tell you how many times people want to like badmouth a comedian to me, and I literally have to be like, don't talk to me like that. Yeah. Like, I'm not part of the, like, I'm not trying to put nobody down. I don't mess with this part of it because it's not in alignment with what I'm trying to do here. Like, if something real bad happened, I'll know about it. You know what I mean? Yeah. But if you want me to hate someone on your behalf, it's not going to happen, and don't try to involve me into some shit that I don't want to be involved in.
I support that mentality 1,000%.
It's tough.
Yeah, because
I mean, when you're not a sounding board for people, sometimes, honestly, some people probably don't like open up to me because they know I'm not about to commiserate negatively with them, and that's fine. But I don't want to use I have limited energy to begin with. I don't want to use it for something that makes me feel sick to my stomach. You know, like. Yeah. It's not the move for me. I
think that's great. I think I agree with you. That was something for me I had to learn the hard way. Of like not allowing negative energy or negative people in my space, and also not putting out that negative energy that then inevitably attracts those people. It's like a back and forth, you know?
Yeah, and that can be a trap.
Yeah.
You know, it's like if I start complaining about the way things are going or whatever, for me, it's like it doesn't accomplish anything other than bring more people into my sphere that are also unhappy and more likely to take me away from what I actually want to do, which, you know,
Is hard to do.
It doesn't seem like much, but it adds up.
Yeah.
You know.
You were saying focus on what people aren't doing and then do those things. Do you feel like you're doing that right now?
Yeah. Like for me, for example, I found comfort in doing rooms that my peers weren't doing. There's still like a weird segregation in comedy.
Can you?
Where and like for the average listener, you know the word segregation. And there's still like people call them mainstream rooms and urban rooms a lot, but
okay,
it's literally like there's black rooms that white comics don't do, they don't feel comfortable doing, and I've always felt comfortable doing them because that was also my environment growing up, and I don't have to like put on a song and dance and start talking different and start acting different and start pretending like I'm a different person in order to do it. It's actually just part of me that I don't get to explore in a lot of the like mainstream club rooms because there's just not enough people there that will understand some of the references I would make, or like the subject matter wouldn't be of interest to a lot of those rooms, especially when you start in Madison, Wisconsin. And so like doing things like that was helpful to me because like that is a unique part of my actual lived experience that a lot of people that I would be compared to, you know, just like stereotypically as comics, like didn't live. So that is kind of a unique identifier and something that I can talk about at length and with an actual paradigm that's not just like putting on a fake bullshit act.
Yeah.
You know?
I think stand-up works best when you are being your authentic self.
Yeah.
And I think black rooms are really good place to test how authentic you're willing to be.
Oh, and if you're like just pandering, like they sniff it out immediately. They're just like, you're just coming in here trying to use buzzwords and make us like you and fucking, I listen to J. Cole, guys.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
You know, shit like that. Like they can smell
fake.
Yeah, inauthentic performances right away. And I'm still a novelty in that room too. Sure. So like even I will be the first to acknowledge like sometimes it goes better.
Hold on.
Yeah, and I'm still a novelty in those rooms, so I will be the first to acknowledge that sometimes it goes better than it even should. You know what I mean? Just because it's like it's a novel experience to be like, oh shit, look at this fucking guy.
Yeah, he looks different.
Look at this undercover cop who apparently uses Murray's pomade and shit. That's wild.
Yeah, man. Like and I'm going to include sports in this.
Yeah.
Going to those rooms and going to rooms that make you uncomfortable, it strengthens you. It's that discomfort and surviving that discomfort makes you, I mean, not even a better comic, but just all well-rounded person.
Yeah. Well, and it also makes you go like, what about me is interesting enough to succeed here or here or here? And like sometimes I watch people, like I watched Kadeem Fuller last night, and like everything he was talking about was just interesting too. Like it was like actually captivating, and he's hilarious.
Yeah.
And so like, I mean, he just crushed, and I was like, damn, that's good shit, you know. And
Did
then
you
like
follow him?
I went up like 2 or 3. Like I closed out the show that I was on last night. It was the Soho House show.
Okay, yeah, with the plants.
Soho House.
Am I thinking something different?
You're thinking of Humble Jungle.
That's what I'm thinking of.
With the plants.
Yeah,
That's an actual house show. Soho House is like a members only club kind of thing. It's like a place where people go talk about fucking real estate and shit.
Right. Play polo t-shirts and.
But it was a great show, and like, but I watched something like that, and I'm like, he's talking about actual experiences all across the board, and every single one of them is novel, unique, interesting, captivating in a way that where like the jokes become this like incredible cherry on top, you know, and you think about it like things can be contrived. You can tell a story that's like half true, and like, but there's a point where it's more contrived than interesting.
Yeah.
And finding out, like, being in that discomfort is like, okay, what can I talk about that's like really authentic, actually captivating, and the payoff is great, and the jokes can flow perfectly through it. And that's like the perfect kind of thing to assess about yourself by doing all these different rooms.
Yes. And okay, now watch me interview the shit out of this.
All right,
bet.
bet.
Let's go full circle to the sports and jiu-jitsu. The pushing against discomfort, dealing with those things. I'm glad I did a little sports growing up because I understood, like, okay, this is how you push a little bit, do suicides and stuff. But as soon as I stopped playing basketball, I was like, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm hanging out with the theater kids doing goofy shit.
Right.
And this might take a weird turn, but in terms of masculinity, as a man, I think on some level it's like you need
something.
Yeah,
Some physical manifestation.
Yeah, it's like this is gonna be cliche as fuck, but the first half of Fight Club.
Okay.
Is a group of dudes who feel aimless because they've had something kind of primal stripped from them. And there's something primal and very human to me about sports and athleticism and competitiveness.
Sure.
And how to take a fucking L.
Yeah.
With the jiu-jitsu stuff, like you were saying about not having a poor person mentality.
Right.
I think the jiu-jitsu stuff has kind of taught me how to let go and also not do that. I used to complain a lot. If something was going wrong, I would dwell on that shit.
Yeah.
And in the jiu-jitsu stuff, like, you get put in arm bars and rear naked chokes, and there's nothing you can do.
There's no choice but, like, what can I do about this as a
I
result of what's happening?
Yes.
What can I do?
Survive now.
Yeah.
It makes you. I've never been so present than when I'm being mounted by a black belt, and I'm like, I need to escape.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck about bills.
That's actually, to like bring it to that point, is perfect too, because I think that is your best bet in any regard, is like the amount of like present you can be in the moment you can be. That's when I feel like, even on stage, when you're like, say you do a 10-minute spot and most of it is stuff that you have just like, you could literally do the 10 minutes and think about something else and just recite it like a piano recital, like muscle memory, just like you could just do the 10. But if you're present, you find all those actual things, like you can respond on stage, you can actually, the amount of stage presence that you have can actually like amplify that exact same material tremendously just by being actually in the moment. And that's when you have your best sets too. That's when you feel like you were on top of it, when you were like present minded and like you weren't just going through the cliff notes of everything and going through the motions and just like reciting it as it was written perfectly and just calling it. You were like, you were there adjusting to the actual environment, actually being there and doing your best because of it.
I really enjoy your mentality on things, man. Like,
I appreciate that.
Yeah. You it's funny, you are a very calm person, but your eyes are really intense.
Are they intense?
You're very intense.
Damn, all right.
Yeah. Not in the
Start looking around. Shit.
not in a it's
I had a lot of coffee, to be fair.
Okay, you're a little hyped up. It reminds me of Dave Bradley. It's a sports thing.
I got to meet this guy.
Yeah, you would. I think you would like him. He's in the photo album. I'll show you after when we're done.
Okay.
You should hit him up for his show in Red Room. I think he would really like you.
Cool.
You give off the vibe of someone who will be successful, like, no matter what.
I'm glad that you think that. I hope so too. I do have confidence that I'll get where I'm going, and I think that I'll be happy with that. I'm trying to be happy with all stages of that, and I can be theoretical about any kind of situation, but like actually living it, and everyone says like the actual process of doing it is the thing you have to enjoy and actually find validation in order to get where you're trying to go.
I fell in the trap when I first started comedy for years of only think about comedy. This is all you do.
Yeah.
Fucking what's his name? David Goggins. You wake up, you don't be happy, you don't smile, you go be funny, go to sleep, do it again.
David Goggins is great if you're trying to get in shape.
Yeah. If you're trying to do art,
and that mentality is great too. I am like, I have that in me, but also with something like a creative endeavor, it's like I'm also trying not to force shit together that like I'll have to like I don't know how to say it, like that doesn't naturally just fit.
Yeah.
Like if I'm not ready for something, or if I don't get something when I feel like I should get it or whatever, like I will say one of the things that I enjoy about my mentality that gives me peace, because if I didn't enjoy this about myself, like I'm not just like pat myself in the back. If I didn't enjoy this about myself, I'd be miserable all the time. But like having a healthy sense of like, okay, that didn't work out because that's not for me right now. There's another door somewhere to go through that is right. Like the right thing does happen when you are present and paying attention. I don't feel the need, and I should do this more, but I don't feel the need to like knock down the doors and be like, yo, can I get on this? Yo, can I get on this? Yo, can I do this club? Yo, can I get over here? Like, I only really even do shit like that if I already have like a booking somewhere and I'm trying to like fill it out. Then I'll bother people, like, try to get this and this day or whatever, because I'm already out somewhere, so I'm trying to make it worth my time. But like I'm not as transactional, or like, oh, you put me on, I'll put you on. That kind of shit. It floods my brain with like people who I owe favors to, or people who I think might owe me one, and like I don't like doing it that way. I like it feels better when you're invited to do something a little bit. Obviously there is a trade-off, and I do have to get over some of that like
it's business
imposition complex of like, hey, can I do your thing? Like, it does give me that imposition complex. It's part of the poverty mind.
Say it what?
Imposition complex.
What is that?
Like, you don't want to impose.
Yeah.
You don't want to be in the way. You don't want to be a bother. You don't want to be, you're hyper aware, hyper vigilant of like the extent to which you could be putting someone out. So I try to just go where I'm welcome and I know that it will be well received, and well received meaning like the request to be somewhere, like where I don't feel like I'm bothering people. But I do have to get over some of that shit too, because like the levels that the more you do it, and the more levels you're trying to kind of unlock of your career, I mean, you just have to be comfortable with that discomfort too, which isn't something that I've really put too much effort in overcoming, and I definitely will need to do that to reach final form. You know what I mean? But that's fine with me right now too.
I'm picturing you. It's funny because I didn't meet you as 13-year-old version of you, but I'm picturing you as this the whole time, and I'm sure there was some trials and tribulations, ups and downs. Was there a point where you had to find the mentality that you're in right now?
Yeah, I mean, my adult life, like being just on my own, and like, I don't know, like I definitely wasn't like as I would say balanced as I am now. I think I had, and I try not to throw shade on like my upbringing or anything like that, because like my family and parents and everyone around me was like trying their best, but I had a lot of shit to unlearn.
Can I get an example?
So like just ways of operating, and like needless emotional reactions that aren't helpful, and like the need to like if someone wrongs you, the need for like immediate vengeance and like retribution and like all that shit that like really shouldn't be, like, it's not your job to kind of enforce like people mistreating you or like whatever. I always felt like so hurt by whatever the hell happened to me, and I had to just kind of like get over a lot of shit and just not tie up my own like emotional state into whatever's happening outside of my control. And like that was a lot of it, but just like things that like unlearning a lot of just behaviors and unlearning a lot of mindsets that I don't think are helpful, and then relearning new ones that make sense. Like I'm very logical, and I try to logic my way out of emotions and stuff sometimes, but I do have kind of like a central sort of mantra, and it's just like do what makes sense. And I don't think that often leads you astray if you're like actually. That's why like trying to be reasonable about your expectations and like what you're capable of and like what needs to happen is one of those things that I think just pulls you out of unnecessary ruts, and you don't get too tied to things that you don't control.
There's two things you said there that I relate to. I just use different words. You said you needed to learn how to get over things. And for me, I use the word let go.
Yeah.
I think growing up, people would, because I had that same, because literally like 3 episodes ago, I was screaming about whatever the fuck happened in my childhood.
Right.
But people would tell me to like get over shit. And my interpretation of that was always just like, it's not a big deal, whatever.
Yeah, that can be a challenging way to say it.
Yeah.
Because that is also what people tell you. Get over it.
Yeah, just
get over it.
Right.
When you like have every reason to be emotionally invested.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think the words let go is it doesn't take away what happened, but it also gives me the freedom to
distance yourself from it. Like no longer identify your life with something that isn't you.
Yes.
Like it's not like whatever happened isn't you.
It's so hard to
then getting that out of you, being like, that's over here, that's not right here.
The other thing you said was do what makes sense, and then the words I would use is follow your gut. Yeah. Which are in the same realm of things.
Yeah, practicing discernment. That's also, I think, the major skill differentiator between like anyone is like discernment is everything. Like what you're gonna say on stage, what you're gonna go out for, what you're gonna try to do with your career. Like making those choices are kind of the sauce. Like, and yeah, I think it has to do with discernment.
Okay. This has been my favorite question of the podcast, and this is usually how I wrap it up.
All right, bet.
Okay. So we're going to pretend the camera is you 5 years from now. So if you could say anything you want to you 5 years from now, what would you say?
If Aaron doesn't get a fucking studio, no, I'm just say myself 5 years from now.
Yeah.
What's up, bald motherfucker? I've been receding for a while. If you don't have enough money for hair plugs, you ain't shit. Because I'm talking 5 years from now. I don't know. I hope things are good.
All right. No, I like that. That was very simple. All right, let's take this picture.